Welcome back, and I got something quite interesting to share with y'all today. This right here is the DC Blades Cetos. This is a design collaboration between DC Blades, which is Justin from Tier 1 Gear and EDC Reviews. Super nice guy. Check him out. He has a cool YouTube channel as well. And this was their first design under their DC Blades brand. And I thought it looked quite interesting. The OEM on this one is Miguron Knives, and the pre-order is live right now at dcblades.net. So all that information will be down in the description, and I'll try to pin it in the comments as well. It's a perfect size, I think, for my medium-sized hands. I get a nice 4-finger grip here. You have that wicked clip point with a compound ground, hollow grind that's nice and thin right here. That transitions into a flat grind, and then that swedge goes into it. Very pokey. And you have somewhat of a ramp here that feels really nice in hand. The flipper tab acts as a guard. The action on this thing is very nice. You can reverse flick off that fuller, which is pretty nice as well. And that flipper rockets out. They have this satin version, and we do have some jimping that's nice and functional, nice and grippy. Dual fullers on both sides. They have like a blasted finish inside the fullers to give it a little contrast. I think that just looks stunning. You have a titanium frame that looks like it's got like a bronze anode or like a dark blast with a beautiful milling pattern on it that adds some grip. Nice little inlay, black G10, and pretty wicked logo right there on the pivot. DC Blades, that is pretty sweet. The inlay sits a little bit proud of the scales, not much, and that doesn't really bother me any. You have a titanium geared backspacer, comes up about a quarter of the way. Torx T8 construction, everything's nice and countersunk, flush with the scales. You have a milled titanium pocket clip, little pop of color with a pivot ring. It's either brass or bronze. And you can see right there the blade steel M390, which is good to go. I mean, I find that Miguron does a pretty good job with their M390 and their S90V. You have an over travel protection with this G10 piece, so you don't overextend that lock. Very smooth action, as you can see here. Great flipping action, and the clip where the clip sits, that's where my hand falls whenever I'm going to flip it, so I don't have to worry about my fingers coming in contact with the lock bar. You can slow roll it off that fuller. And let's see, you can thumb flick it. Pretty comfortable ergos. Now, of course, I don't have enough time with this one to do any testing with it, but I did push it into some wood just to see how the ergos felt. And for the most part, the way my hands sit, you got this that fits these two fingers nicely, and this one fits on the end. So I stayed away from this hump and this hump. Now, if you had bigger hands, that might not be the case for you, but for me, it fits nicely. They also have a second version that has the black blade. Everything else is pretty much the same, as you can see here. It looks pretty wicked. Nice. I'm guessing that's a PVD coated or something. Very nice. This one is stupid smooth. And I just noticed they have the little flipper ramp, but my finger goes past it, right past it, but not a big deal at all. Now I will read in a second. I'm going to read some of the changes that they're making from this one to the final production. I'm just going to let you know what I see from the one that I'm holding before I read that. The sharpening choil needs to come out. You see how it's created a smile right back here. So it'd been nice for that sharpening choil to come out a little bit more. Hopefully that's on the list. I'd love to see this pocket clip backed up some, because right now, I mean, it's not terrible, but you have about that much of the smaller knife sticking out of your pocket. It would have been nice if they would have put this screw right there and pulled this all the way to the back into the center. But then you're probably going to run into this lock relief, which they could have put that on the inside, and that would have taken care of that problem altogether. So we'll see what kind of changes they're making. This one has a nice crisp detent to it. The black one is smoother, but the detent, in my opinion, is not as strong as this one. Now, I haven't failed it at all. I think they got nice action. I'm good with this type of action. You can do the push button or you can do the light switch, however you want. I find the push button rockets it out really fast. And you can see here that what I was talking about, the sharpening choil doesn't come past the plunge line, so you have that widened section because it gets thicker back there. I've had a lot of people ask why you want the sharpening choil, because when you go to sharpen this, it's very hard. Your stones are going to hit this plunge grind, and it's going to start getting wider and wider right here, creating a recurve, because you're not going to always hit this section right there. So overall, I think it's a very cool looking folder. You have tons of internal milling on the top and on the bottom. Love seeing that. To try to lighten it up as much as possible. Coming in at 133.9 grams or 4.72 ounces, which isn't terrible for how wide and how chunky this knife is. Your overall length on this knife is about a little bit over 7 1/4, and you have about a 3 1/4 inch blade. Your grip area, if you go from here to the back, a little bit over 3.5 inches, probably 1/2 inch wide. All right, now we're going to go over the changes that are going to be made. It says, number 1, increase the clip height. Maybe this right here, so you got more clearance to go underneath there. Better internal milling on the inlay for lock bar clearance. I guess you're talking about, see how they got the little piece missing maybe, and yeah, I'm guessing, all that's for the better, just to make it cleaner there. Handle finish will be lightened for better wear and snail trail resistance. So they're going to be lightening this up. I like that color, but I get it. They try to lighten this up some just so, the wear marks don't show as much. But I found when you have this milling pattern on the scales, it tends not to mar up as easily. The price will be $185 for the DLC and $195 for the satin, plus shipping, of course. Now they have the specs here: 7.25 inches overall with a 3.125 inch blade. Handles 3.125 inches. Your blade thickness is 0.15, and the thickness on the scales are 0.50, coming in at 4.73 ounces. They have these 2 blade finishes available, the DLC and the satin, plus 3 pivot collar options available. You can get black, blue, or gold. I'm guessing they might be titanium. Yeah, yeah, that's probably titanium if I had to make a guess. If I'm wrong, I'll put it up here if I find out. But I gotta say that looks rather nice, and Miguron has been doing a really good job with their knives this year. Been real, their quality control has gotten a lot better, and so far all the knives that I've gotten from them have been really, really nice. Access to the lock bar is good because this comes down a little bit further. You got a nice little chamfer. I don't have any trouble getting to that lock bar at all. The lockup on this one, bank vault, no play in any direction. No play any direction. Very, very tight lockup. This one's sitting at around 30 or 40%. This one is sitting at around 30 or 40% as well. Ceramic ball bearing, ceramic detent ball, all the good stuff. So if you're interested in the DC Blades Cetos, go to dcblades.net and pre-order yours today. Now let's check out 2 more knives from them. This next one is a Kickstarter campaign that has went live today, I think it is. And this right here is the Azusa Blitzkrieg. This one is rather interesting. I like it a lot. Miguron is also the OEM for this one. Got that beautiful blade hole for deployment. Beautiful drop point blade with that tip below the center line of the pivot. So it's going to be excellent for doing drag cuts with that tip. Or, if you had to puncture into something. You got that nice little thumb ramp to rest your finger. This particular one is also an M390. Got a nice top swedge that comes down to that tip, but you still have a pretty robust tip there. Flat grind here, so this is going to be a pretty robust grind. It feels pretty thick behind the edge, so it's going to be a heavier user. You got nice functional jimping that sits perfectly. If you want, I can choke up. Now, if you had fat sausage fingers, you may not be able to choke up on this one. Love that blade. The action, outstanding. You have the thumb hole and the flipper tab with some jimping. Comes out nice and fast, riding on ceramic bearings with ceramic detent ball. The reverse flick is my favorite way to go. I can also thumb roll it. Very, very nice. The frame on this one has that same beautiful milling that Miguron does. I love it. It offers some grip. You got a nice carbon fiber inlay. This one has a different design on the pivot. AZUSA is a knife store in Arizona. I will have, like I said, links to everything down in the description. TA Construction. Like how that flipper tab's canted back with that jimping. You still get a nice flip. Now, being that it is a little bit lower, it doesn't flip as hard as, say, if this was pushed up in front of the pivot. You just don't have as much momentum, but I think it still flips nicely. Love this handle. Nice and comfortable, no crazy trolls. My medium-sized hands fit nice here. And then when I choke up, I have a lot of room. Nice contouring on the titanium scales. Gear titanium backspacer. Mill titanium pocket clip. Now this is how it should be done right here. See how this is all the way to the back? Goes past the lock relief. Even though I'd have loved to see that on the inside, it would have kept it a lot cleaner. You could still get it into your pocket without it bunching up. Do have a good bit of tension there. Not a whole lot of room underneath there, but I don't know if that's anything they would be changing. I like that they put the inlay on both sides. Keeps it nice and clean looking. You have a lock bar insert like on the other two. Access to that lock bar is phenomenal because this comes down nice and far. Then you have that chamfer. I can easily get my thumb in there very, very nicely. Check out the inside. You have tons of internal milling on the top and on the lock side as well. Hopefully you can see that. Bringing this one to 131.7 grams or 4.645 ounces. You have a total length of about 7.5 inches with almost a 3.5 inch blade. Grip area from here to here is about 3.5 inches. Size comparison with the Ontario Rat 1 and 2. And with the Spyderco PM2 and Power 3. Nitpicks and complaints. The only thing I would have loved to see is this be a hollow grind. Because it's pretty darn thick right up here by the tip. You know, I don't know if there's any changes being made to this one at all. Definitely check the Kickstarter. I'm sure it has anything listed. But overall, I love the design. I think it's very attractive. The action is very, very smooth. Comfortable in the choke up spot and comfortable in the choke back spot. Yeah, there's a lot of good here. But like I said, I just think it would have been a lot slicier as a hollow grind. You can see how thick it is toward that tip. I mean, this feels like it's about 30 to 40 thousandths by that tip. And then you have a very short grind height here. So, yeah, I think it would have benefited a lot more from a hollow grind, kind of like on that Cetos. But if none of that stuff's deal breakers, I think you'd be very, very happy with this one. And like I said, if any of those are deal breakers, definitely go check out the Kickstarter campaign. Make sure they weren't, doing anything different with this one. But, yeah, this one's pretty darn cool as well. I would be hard pressed. I can't afford either one of them right now. But it would be tough to decide which one I would be picking up. And last, I know y'all probably seen this one on the channel. This is the Shieldon Scythe. And this is the smaller original version. This was also designed by Justin. And I thought it was really cool. It's just rather small. I could still get a 4-finger grip on it, but it's still a pretty small knife. 154 cm. It's got beautiful action, and it's definitely a polarizing design. Well, I was super excited whenever I found they were doing an XL Scythe. And this one has a titanium frame, also done by Shieldon. And I don't recall seeing any knives done by Shieldon and Ty. But they did a phenomenal, phenomenal job on this. You got contoured titanium. The scales have a nice texture to them. They feel nice. I guess it's just a blasted finish. It looks nice, feels nice. And check this raised geared backspacer to give it that mean look that wraps around. You have a filler tab for the milled titanium pocket clip. That is also nicely contoured. And just like the smaller brother, it's flipping action. Outstanding. And check that blade out. Now, one thing I noticed whenever, playing around with this one after flipping it a few times whenever I flip it, my finger lands on this right here, and it's not the most comfortable. I'm guessing that they might have done this to not make it as easy to contact that blade. But, you know, just the way my fingers are, I mean, it might not bother anybody else, but my finger definitely lands on the corner of that backspacer right there. Just check that blade out. S35VN on these. It's got that sick looking logo right there, the DC Blades logo. This is just a mean looking titanium frame lock. The other one was a liner lock. Your lockup is about, I'd say 70 to 80%. No play. I mean, I cannot muscle any play. Super solid lockup. And I guess it's because you have that full engagement of the titanium lock bar insert. Nice and smooth action. I mean, this thing's pretty new. And Shieldon does a good job with their flipper action, because look how low, you know, excellent flipper tab design. And it's about, you know, middle of the pivot, which you wouldn't usually get a great flip, but the D10's dialed so nice, this thing comes rocketing out. Now, it's still not a huge folder, but it is bigger than the original one that they dropped. It's a good bit bigger than the original. Let's see, the original one was right at around 6 inches overall, and the XL is just shy of 7 inches, as you can see there, with probably a 2.75 inch blade. Grip area from the front of that flipper to the back right there is about 3.5 inches. So yeah, definitely a wicked looking folder. And I will probably be doing another video on this one, because this one, he doesn't need this one back as fast. So y'all stay tuned for more on that one. So that'll do it for today's video. Let me know which one's your favorite out of this grouping right here. Let me know if you plan on picking up any of these. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I hope everybody's having an absolute amazing day. I will see y'all on the next one.